Hello everyone, Happy New Year, and thank you for participating in the FY 2020 Department of Education's Fulbright-Hays Group Projects Abroad Short-Term Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cory Neal. I am the GPA Program Manager. Please note that we will be conducting two separate workshops this year, one for the GPA Short-Term Project and a separate webinar for the GPA Long-Term Projects. This technical assistance workshop will focus on the short-term projects. Both webinars have been pre-recorded and can be accessed through the Department of Education's GPA website. The agenda for the technical assistance workshop is as follows. We're going to review the purpose of the short-term program. We'll also review the competition highlights as referenced in the NIA. We'll discuss the eligibility requirements for both applicants and participants. We will review each of the short-term project types. We will discuss each of the project phases for the short-term projects. We'll go over the allowable costs under the GPA program. We will review the selection criteria and the process for selecting awardees. And lastly, we will provide some helpful tips for developing a successful and competitive application, hopefully successful and competitive application. Okay, the GPA short-term program is designed to promote, improve, and develop modern foreign languages and area studies throughout the educational structure of the United States. The program gives K-12 teachers, faculty, undergrad, and graduate students opportunities to conduct research and studies abroad in modern foreign language and area and international studies. We define, I get this question all the time, what does area studies mean? We define area studies as the study of the aspects of a society or societies, including the study of their geography, history, culture, economy, politics, international relations, or languages. If you think that your project might fall, or you might question whether it falls within our definition of area studies, please just reach out to me and I can further assist you with that. Okay, for 2020, our estimated range of awards will be between $50,000 and $100,000. Our average size of award being $80,000. We estimate making approximately 10 to 15 short-term projects, awards to short-term projects. We shoot every year to make approximately 25 total awards. That's a total of short-term and long-term. But the department is not bound by any of these estimations in this notice. Okay, for FY 2020, the absolute priority for our competition is that a group project focuses on one or more of the following geographic regions of the world: Africa, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific, the Western Hemisphere, Central and South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, Eastern and Central Europe, Eurasia, and the Near East. Please note that GPA short-term projects that focus on Western Europe will not be reviewed. These countries include Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. GPA short-term applicants can earn additional points if they address the following competitive preference priorities. First, GPA short-term applicants can earn three additional points if they are from the following types of institutions and organizations: minority-serving institutions, community colleges, new applicants, and state educational agencies. Please note that community college means an institution that meets the definition in Section 312F of the Higher Education Act of 1965, or an institution of higher education as defined in Section 101 of the HEA that awards degrees and certificates, more than 50% of which are not bachelor degrees or equivalent. The definition of a new applicant means any applicant that has not received a discretionary grant from the Department of Education under the Fulbright-Hays Act prior to the deadline date for applications under this program. The applicant is not the program director, Applicant refers to the institution applying for funding. If you have any questions on whether or not you think that your institution is a new applicant, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you. And lastly, state educational agency means the State Board of Education or another agency or officer primarily responsible for the supervision of public elementary and secondary schools in a state. In the absence of this officer or agency, it is an officer or agency designated by the governor or state law. Okay, GPA short-term applications can earn 2 additional points if they propose projects that provide training and thematic focus on any modern foreign languages except French, German, and Spanish, and obviously English. Proposals must provide a minimum requirement of 20 hours towards language training on a less commonly taught language throughout the duration of the project to be eligible to apply. This hour requirement is new this year, so please be mindful. Again, proposals must provide a minimum requirement of 20 hours towards language training on a less commonly taught language throughout the duration of the project to be eligible to apply for this competitive preference priority. Lastly, short-term applications can also earn 2 additional priority points for focusing on projects that develop and improve foreign language studies, area studies, or both at elementary and secondary schools by including K-12 teachers or K-12 administrators, or a combination of the 2, as at least 50% of the project participants. Okay, next I'll cover applicant and participant eligibility requirements. Eligible applicants for the FY 2020 cycles are institutions of higher education, state departments of education, private nonprofit educational organizations, and consortia of institution, departments, and organizations. An individual is eligible to participate in a GPA short-term project if he or she is a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the United States, meaning they have a green card, and an individual who is currently employed full-time in a U.S. school system, institution of higher education, local education agency, or state education agency. This is not applicable to students. Individuals who are not currently employed or studying full-time or its equivalent are not eligible. The program will allow a combination of teaching and studying at 100% to be eligible. Continuing on with our eligibility, participants must be a teacher in an elementary or secondary school, a faculty member who teaches modern foreign languages or area studies, an experienced education administrator responsible for planning, conducting, or supervising programs in modern foreign languages or area studies at the elementary, secondary, or post-secondary levels, a graduate student or junior or senior in an institution of higher education who is a prospective teacher in the areas of social sciences, humanities, and foreign languages. Please note that graduate students or juniors or seniors do not have to be working full-time in order to be eligible. The student should meet the provisions set by his or her local and state education agencies. All right, our project types. You have 3 short-term project types. Those are short-term seminars, curriculum development programs, and group research or study programs. Okay, I'm going to break down the individual projects, the first being the seminar, and probably the most popular of our projects. The short-term seminar project typically lasts 4 weeks, and they are designed to promote the integration of international studies into the social sciences and or humanities curriculum throughout U.S. school systems at all levels. They increase linguistic and or cultural competency among U.S. students and educators, and they focus on a particular aspect of area studies, such as the culture of the area or a portion of the culture of the country of study. Curriculum development projects are generally 4 weeks in length as well, and they allow for participants to acquire first-hand resource materials, including artifacts, books, documents, films, recordings, museum reproductions, and other instructional material for curriculum development in modern foreign language and area studies for use and dissemination in the U.S. Our third and last short-term project, this is the group research or study. These projects are typically 3 months in length and are designed to give participants the opportunity to undertake research or study in a country outside of the U.S. Unlike the other two short-term project types, participants in a group study project must possess the requisite language proficiency and disciplinary competence in their area of research. The grantee should conduct a language assessment pretest to determine a participant's language proficiency. For short-term seminars and curriculum development projects, again, the minimum and the most common amount of time spent in the host country is 4 weeks. This does not include the pre-departure orientation, which we will touch on later. Your grant performance period is 18 months. If you choose to spend the minimum 4 weeks in country, you must include 12 participants and 1 project director for a total of 13 individuals. The maximum grant award for both seminars and curriculum development is $100,000. This number is the maximum regardless of how many weeks you're spending in country, so you might want to keep that in mind. And you'll notice, too, that the number of participants decrease, the minimum number of participants decrease as the amount of time in country increases to kind of cover for this. All of this information here can be found on pages 15 and 16 of the application handbook. For the group research or study projects, they're designed to, again, undertake research or study in a country outside of the U.S. The length of these projects is from a minimum of 12 weeks to as long as 12 months. The minimum number of participants is 3, and then including the project director will be a total of 4 individuals. Again, participants must have a minimum of 1 semester intensive language and one course in related area study. Let me repeat that. Participants must have a minimum of 1 semester intensive language study and 1 course in a related area study in order to be eligible to participate. This information here can be found on page 17 of the application handbook. The maximum grant award for group study projects is also $100,000. Okay, we highly encourage each applicant to check the State Department's website for alerts and warnings as GPA applicants posing to travel to a country that is closed to Fulbrighters will be disqualified. The countries on this slide are the current countries that are closed to GPA Fulbrighters. If you are unsure of a specific country, feel free to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to help you. As a reminder, we always receive several inquiries about Cuba and Egypt as possible destinations for a GPA project. These countries are currently closed to GPA Fulbrighters. Grantees have 18 months to carry out a short-term project activity. For FY 2020, the proposed start and end dates are June 15, 2020 until December 15, 2021, 18 months from the date of the award. Now, of course, if the date gets pushed back or bumped up for any reason, you always just have that 18 months from the date of the award. Okay, we're going to discuss the project phases. These phases include the pre-departure phase, the overseas phase, and the post-overseas or follow-up phase. For the pre-departure phase, grantees should allot at minimum 16 hours towards pre-departure orientation. The pre-departure preparation should consist of conducting a series of lectures on the country of study. Advanced reading materials shall also be sent to the participants several weeks prior to the pre-departure orientation. For this orientation, we suggest that the applicant include guidelines on curriculum development, if applicable, discussions on daily living and traveling in the host country, cultural discussions and differences between the host country and the United States, team building exercises, team assignments, individual proposed projects, and of course, language training You know, regardless if you're going to be studying the foreign language overseas or not, this is very, very helpful, especially conversational language training. This slide contains an example of a pre-departure orientation schedule. Please make sure your pre-departure orientation is detailed as demonstrated by this slide. You may include a copy of your pre-departure orientation. In fact, I highly recommend you include a copy of your pre-departure orientation in the appendices of your application package. If you'd like other examples of a pre-departure orientation, again, please contact me. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. Okay, the overseas phase. This is where you will provide detailed information in your in-country itinerary. This should be, or should include a daily itinerary, details about any academic lectures or language study, any field trips or culture activities you may participate in, debriefings and evaluation, and travel arrangements and accommodations. Remember, the more information you provide in your project narrative, the more likely you are to receive a respectable score. A bit of advice for the overseas phase, especially for new applicants. Oftentimes, our project directors will tend to completely fill up their daily itinerary to the point where the participants, are completely worn out at the end of the day and have no time to reflect on what they have achieved or seen or learned. It is not uncommon, and it is recommended that even some self-reflection or journaling time can be built into your daily itinerary to the benefit of your participants. Okay, the next two slides, including this one, provide a detailed in-country itinerary sample. You may and should include a copy of your day-to-day itinerary in your appendices as well. You can tell how this one is broken down and has a little more information day-to-day in comparison to the pre-departure orientation itinerary. Again, if you would like a different example of an in-country itinerary, please reach out. I'd be happy to provide you with an example. Okay, follow-up phase. So applicants should include in the follow-up phase an end-of-seminar evaluation to be completed by each participant to assess the quality of the overseas project. The Department of Education reviews each evaluation submitted by the participants to ascertain the success of the project and to provide suggestions for improvements should the grantee submit a subsequent application for funding. Applicants should include schedules for formal follow-up and dissemination, such as a series of workshops over the course of the next year that includes announcements, discussion, curriculum meetings, presentations, critique of lesson plans, review of curricular projects for content, accuracy and appropriateness, and preparation for publication. Applicants should also discuss how they will arrange follow-up visits to the local area from host country educators to serve as guest lecturers during the summer and to speak in local education settings. This can result in effective media blitz about the effectiveness of your project, as well as significantly strengthen ties due to any follow-up visits. This is a sample chart containing an outline of follow-up activities. This can be and should be included in your appendices. Okay, let's talk money. These are allowable costs for the GPA Short-Term Program. Funding can be used for the following: lodging and meals, round-trip international travel, and as a reminder, all flights to and from the U.S. must be Fly America Act compliant, travel within the host country, education materials purchased in the host country, meeting space within the host country, and local administrative fees and services and host country evaluators. Okay, it is very, very important to note that the grant does not provide funds for project-related expenses within the United States. That includes U.S.-based salaries, that includes your pre-departure orientation if it's held in the United States, and any follow-up activities in the United States. These domestic-based items may be included as part of the applicant matching contribution. So all GPA funding must be spent overseas. Up next is the selection criteria. This is the criteria that the readers will be using to score your application and provide you with feedback. You have 8 criteria that you will address in your project narrative. Applicants can receive 100 points total for addressing all of the selection criteria, and then in addition, they can receive up to 7 additional points by addressing the competitive preference priorities specific to short-term projects. We touched on those earlier. So we're going to go ahead and break it down. Your first criteria is plan of operation, worth 20 points. Applicants should introduce the reader to their institution or organization by providing statistics and other demographic information relevant to the project. The need for the project, the selection of the country of study, and the objectives of the project should all be discussed. The project design should be addressed. This generally includes the 3 project phases we discussed earlier in the presentation. Applicants should note how each phase of the project is to be carried out and supported under the plan of operation. Continuing on with plan of operation, the applicant should also address how the management plan will link all of the project phases and how it will effectively operate under all of the project parties. Applicants should describe in which ways resources and personnel will be used in achieving the objectives of the project and include details of which key personnel will be responsible for vital components and activities, and describe the how, why, when, and where project activities will take place. Please include a clear description of how the project will provide equal access and equipment for project participants regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Many applicants neglect to include this description, and this does result in a point deduction. So please, please, please remember to include that equal access statement. Okay, next is your quality of key personnel, which is worth 10 points. Applicants should address the qualifications of the U.S. project director, which includes their academic training, their field of expertise in the host country, the administrative experience, language, and other related qualifications. It is also very important to note the project director's time commitment to the project. Please provide expertise of any other support staff as well as their time commitment to the project. Applicants should also provide host country key personnel qualifications. These can include administrative staff, language teachers, assessors, and evaluators. Please be sure to include their titles, project responsibilities, and their time commitments to the project. There's a theme there. Applicants should also show, as part of the institution's non-discriminatory employment practices, how employment from underrepresented groups will be without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In the appendices section, the applicant should upload abbreviated CVs, which should be no more than 3 pages for key personnel. Okay, budget and cost effectiveness. This is also worth 10 points. Applicants should demonstrate and justify that all allowable expenses presented are adequate and reasonable in today's market and necessary to accomplish the project's goals. Applicants should discuss their project's cost effectiveness and show the relationship between the project's cost and the project's objectives. GPA programs do not require matching funds, but we highly, highly recommend using matching funds. In the budget narrative attachment, applicants should upload a detailed itemized line budget and accompanying budget narrative that clearly outlines how costs have been calculated and are necessary. Remember, short-term projects have an 18-month project period, so your budget should reflect all 18 months. Okay, this is an example. This and the next slide are examples of a budget sheet. We recommend that applicants organize their budgets into 3 categories to indicate each funding stream, which could include federal funds from the GPA grant, institutional funds, and the participant cost share. The way this budget example is organized, where you have the GPA program and what it will cover, the college or university and what they will cover, and the participant cost share and what that will cover is very clear and very concise, and is the preferred kind of outline of GPA budget. So please keep that in mind. This budget is continued on this page, and you can see for this example here, the GPA program is going to cover $75,000, college or university, and the participants will also contribute in the amounts of $28,608 and $10,417. Very, very clear, absolutely everything that will be covered, and it's laid out in a very concise way. Okay, the evaluation plan. This is worth 20 points. A well-designed evaluation plan includes clearly articulated goals, measurable objectives, both quantitative and qualitative, a way to collect data to show progress, formal evaluations at each phase of the project, informal evaluations. Those can take the form of a midpoint debriefing or daily journals. To add credibility to the evaluation plan, we highly encourage using an external evaluator that is independent of the project, so someone who is outside of your academic department or even possibly external to your institution. Evaluation instruments that will be used to collect data during all project phases should also be included in your appendices. And a timetable should be included to highlight when key components of the evaluation plan will occur. Applicants will be required to develop the proposed goals and the project's specific performance measures and activities on the Performance Measure Form, or PMF. The project goal statement on this example PMF is to increase the quality and relevancy of less commonly taught language materials. The performance measure to support this goal is to increase the number of instructional modules that could be integrated into existing curriculum. And an activity highlighted here is to identify and propose at the pre-departure orientation meeting 2 to 3 instructional modules to be developed during the group abroad period. So this is an example of your PMF. Should the applicant become a grantee, they will be required to provide the data indicators / baseline numbers to include trend data similar to what we have on this slide. For more detailed information regarding the evaluation plans, please review this information in the application instructions. And this slide here is informational only, okay? Successful GPA applicants, short-term applicants, will be required to collect data on GPA GEPRA measures, specifically GEPRA Measure 2, and report this data to the Department of Education in their final performance reports. The GEPRA measure is the percentage of GPA participants who disseminated information about or materials from their project through more than one outreach activity within 6 months of returning to their home institution. Again, this slide is informational only. Okay, back to some of your selection criteria. Adequacy of resources, this is worth 5 points. Here you want to ask yourself, what resources will I use to accomplish the project goals I have outlined in my project, both in the United States and abroad. You should indicate specifics regarding use of facilities, supplies, and other resources to show that they are adequate to carry out the activities in all phases of the project. In the appendices section, applicants should upload letters of support, both from the U.S. And support country institutions or individuals. Your potential impact is worth 15 points. Applicants should focus on the potential impact of the project on the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies on participating institutions of higher education, public and private schools. You should describe the possible long-term benefits to project participants, their students, colleagues, and communities resulting from successful completion of the GPA grant. Applicants should indicate the process by which resulting curriculum project research will be evaluated for accuracy and effectiveness. Okay, relevance to institutional development is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss the mission, goals, and objectives of the applicant institution, as well as what it would mean to have a GPA grant. Need for overseas experience, this is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss how their project will bring about a better understanding of the host country. You should also address the question, why am I taking this particular group to this particular place? And lastly, you should describe the relationship to the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign language and area studies. The grants.gov appendices provide applicants with an other attachments section. This can include everything listed here. Okay, so preliminary pre-departure orientation agenda, your overseas project itinerary, your follow-up activities, your CVs. Remember, those are 3 pages minimum. Excuse me, 3 pages maximum. Letters of support, your examples of your evaluation materials, timeline charts, PMFs. Okay. All of this should be included in the other attachments section of grants.gov. Okay, at this time, I'd like to provide you with some tips. It's my favorite part. All right. As you're getting organized, we encourage you all to review abstracts of funded grantees and past successful proposal. Those are all located on the GPA website. You can also reach out to me in case you're having trouble accessing that, and I'd be happy to send you some past successful abstracts. We encourage applicants to develop internal and external links that will assist you in putting together a solid application. A lot of our former grantees have been very, very open in sharing kind of some of their best practices. So you might want to do a little research there and see if you can't make some connections. You may want to meet with relevant staff from the Grants and Contracts Office. You may want to coordinate with your colleagues on campus that have international education grant experience. If you have secured an external evaluator, remember, this will send a strong signal to the peer reviewers that you're serious about the evaluation portion. Our FAQ on our website, it's updated. It has tons and tons and tons of information. It's a resource that is not used as often as it should be, but it has a ton of information there for you. We advise you to designate a management team with international and grants experience. Kind of identify your institution or department's needs and wants. And remember to request letters of support both from the U.S. and abroad. Of course, we recommend you review the Federal Register Notice and the GPA program websites for updated information. But honestly, your best resource, besides, of course, this webinar and the FAQs, is to just contact me. Okay, you can reach me at 2 different email addresses, and they will be at the end of this slide, but I'll give them to you now so you can jot them down. gpa@ed.gov is the GPA inbox, and once you have emailed me there, we'll get the ball rolling, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. Okay, when you're writing your proposal, this sounds silly, but make sure you address all the selection criteria. It happens a lot. People will not address all 8 items, and therefore you're losing large chunks of your points. And every point you can get matters. Applicants should not make peer reviewers search for the information. Make it very clear, make it very obvious. Generating a table of contents is very helpful. Providing a detailed plan of operation and evaluation, and include sufficient details so that someone unfamiliar with your project could conduct it. Write clear and measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes. Provide a specific and detailed budget, like the one that I showed you earlier. Grammatical errors avoid grammatical errors. And also avoid specific professional jargon and acronyms. Use persuasive descriptions of how your project operates, and I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to be clear, concise, and detailed. When you are submitting your application, make sure you register early on grants.gov to avoid any system issues. Save your written proposal to avoid any computer issues. If your institution is not funded, you will receive your comments from the reviewer, and take those comments seriously, and please, of course, reapply. Do not wait to the last minute to submit. There's nothing that we can do if you submit after the deadline. That application will not be reviewed. And the deadline this year for your applications is February 18th, 2020, and this is new this year, at 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. In the past, it has been earlier in the day. You've got a little bit more time this year, but do not wait till the last minute. Get those applications in so that you can rest easy. Okay, we will make our awards no later than September 30th, 2020, and you will be notified via email. Of course, we want to make our awards much earlier than that, but that is the absolute final date that you will be notified. Scores and comments will be sent to all applicants via email, regardless if you are successful or unsuccessful. And for those of you who will be successful this year, be prepared to hit the ground running and get the ball rolling on these projects. Okay, here's some websites that I think will be very helpful to you as you work on your applications. You can find sample abstracts from past successful projects, sample narratives, submission instructions, links to our newsletter if you're not already subscribing. And again, if you want some other examples of pre-departure orientation, host country orientation, or budgets, please email me. And here is my email. This is a link to our GPA website and my contact information. I am so happy to answer any questions. It doesn't matter how big or how small. And one last note, this was new last year, but I really want to stress this. Institutions are able to apply for more than one GPA grant. You can submit multiple short-term project grants, you can submit multiple long-term projects, or you can submit a combination of both. Of course, don't spread yourself too thin, and obviously those projects need to have different project directors, but you can apply for more than one. If you choose to submit a long-term application, please be sure to watch the long-term technical assistance webinar, as the long-term applications have different requirements than the short-term applications. You can find that long-term webinar at the International Foreign Language Education Office's YouTube channel. Okay, well, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the GPA Short-Term Technical Assistance webinar. I hope this has helped you in putting together a competitive application. And I wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to your applications.